Right, so now we're going to move on to part two, which is all about talking periods. But there is more to periods than meets the eye. Now, throughout this workshop, I am talking about menstrual health without contraception. So just a side note, right? When explaining the menstrual health timeline, the focus will be on ovaries that are cycling naturally, because this helps to just show the full arc of ovarian aging and how the rhythm develops over time. But ovaries are endocrine organs with a surprisingly wide job description. They influence the brain, energy, sleep, bones, digestion, and so much more. And many people use hormonal contraception at different stages of life. Hormonal contraception does not copy everything an ovary does, but it does provide a consistent hormonal signal that the body can work with. It offers a steady, predictable rhythm that some people choose for health, life, or personal reasons. And whether ovaries have been cycling naturally, supported by contraception, or a combination of both, ovarian health still matters. So everything covered today is about understanding signaling patterns across the menstrual health timeline so the bigger picture becomes clearer. And before we can understand menstrual health in its entirety across the timeline, it helps to learn how one menstrual cycle works, okay? When we can see how the ovaries, the brain, and their signaling shape each cycle, we start to recognize menstrual cycles as part of whole body health. So this next section keeps things simple, gives a clear foundation for understanding the rhythm that sits behind menstruation, ovulation, energy shifts, and other everyday indicators the body uses to communicate. So in this section, we are going to discuss what a menstrual cycle is and how is the rhythm created, and then looking at it from a whole body perspective. So the core structures involved in a menstrual cycle are, okay, that relies on a few of them. So we have the ovaries. They hold the potential of the egg reserve. The fallopian tubes sit close by. They're not actually attached, but in a diagram or illustration, they always look like they are. The uterus has a lining that changes across the cycle, thickening and then shedding as menstruation. And the cervix, vagina, and vulva form the pathway out of the body. The brain and the ovaries release hormones as their communication method, sending signals back and forth that guide what happens every single day of the cycle. They work together to create a hormone heartbeat that shapes each cycle. Now, hormones don't go in a straight line. When these hormones travel from one organ to another, right, they go everywhere. They speak to the brain, the heart, the skin, the digestive system, the immune system, and in fact, all 11 operating systems of the body. And when we think of well-being and health, we need to approach it from a whole person perspective rather than individual systems working on their own. And better still is actually when we place the ovaries at the center of menstrual health as an endocrine organ, everything starts to take on a clearer, more relevant meaning. Now, the rhythm and the signals between the brain and the ovaries are carried by these hormones. There are three in particular. Hormones are referred to as chemical messengers, and they're used to send clear instructions to each part of the body. Now, in the case of the menstrual cycle, the brain releases some and the ovaries release some. But we tend to focus on three key ones that are made in the ovaries. They're called estradiol, progesterone, and testosterone. But together, we call them the three SX. The SX stands for sex because those three hormones are referred to as sex hormones. You can ask me later on why. It's a bit of a strange story. Now, although we often link them to the cycle, the 3SX actually support hundreds, over 150 daily processes throughout the body, which is why the shifts in the menstrual cycle can be felt in many different ways. Now, beyond ovulation and menstruation, the shifting hormone rhythm across the cycle can create many physical and emotional changes. Some feel positive, like maybe higher energy, stronger focus, creativity, or even clearer skin. Other signs are more challenging, including changes in digestion, breast or joint discomfort, headaches, or emotional sensitivity. And these changes are not random, but they are also not 100% predictable either. And it's not specific levels of hormones that lead to these changes. They are an indicator, the changes are an indicator of how sensitive and responsive the mind and the body are to these hormone fluctuations from one part of the cycle to the next part of the cycle and from one cycle to the next cycle. Now, each rhythm follows a very similar pattern, but each one will be ever so slightly different, just like a snowflake. So it starts to become very clear that ovaries are made for more than periods and pregnancy, and that menstrual health is a whole body experience. And when we're talking periods, we really need to be thinking beyond the bleed. So that was end of part 2. Do we have any light bulb moments or thoughts we would like to share? You can pop your cameras on or unmute yourself. We're doing quite well for time, actually. So we've got plenty of time to chat if you want to. If not, we'll carry straight on.